hello, and welcome to MUFC Realist TV. And we have a good panel of guests today. We have Paul White in the house. We have Andy Tate and just arriving Tom Journalist 1. So how are you doing, guys?
Oh, it's been a busy day for me.
Busy day
as well. Everyone's been busy in their own busy day in their own way. That's the best you can say.
Yeah, it's been a lot of news today too. We have seen a lot of what happened with Richard Arnold. Something new, breaking news with the club, and I think we will break down into it. But first, I want to say hello to the VAR room. I see here we have a lot of familiar faces in the chat. I see Singh Sarvant, we have Stephen Welsh, we have Jamie Wayne. He says, let's go. And we have the old man himself, Mr. Neil Driscoll. Evening, everyone. And Lise Jensen Olsen from Denmark coming in with a waving emoji and says, evening, everyone. And we have books in the chat says, welcome, Sir Jim. What are you saying? Is Jim coming in? Who's Jim? We will see. Is
that the one who flies the Enterprise? No,
that's Patrick Stewart.
Jim flies the Enterprise. Yeah, Captain Kirk. They call him Jim. Yeah, it's only Jim I know.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see. We have Louis Green coming in. He said, good evening, Jarvis, Paul, Andy, and Tom. He's just arrived. Let's see, who else do we have in the chat? We have Mark Davis coming in and said, good evening, guys. So it's over for the Qatar. Then I would like to know, Glazers out, Mark. Yeah, I think we all are Glazers out as Man United fan, but today we will try to discuss some of the topics I have planned. We are going to speak a little bit about the takeover, about the latest news. We will speak a little bit about VAR. We will cover the Everton point deduction that came out today, and we will talk a little bit about transfers, especially when it comes to right wings, who will replace Jadon Sancho if he leaves in January. So get your names ready, and we will cover that part in the end of the show. So let's just dig into it, guys, if it's okay for you.
Yeah.
So we have a banner here.
Crack on.
With the first question, the first topic. Now we know Richard Arnold stepping down. What implications does this hold for our club? Who will fill in his shoes? And now I speak about who will be his permanent replacement and what changes can we expect from his successors. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Welcome.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Richard Arnold for giving me Dad his season ticket back.
Mm-hmm.
I emailed him. I did a podcast with the paddock, and he replied to me within a day and a half, and within 3 days, got my season ticket back for my dad. Got his season ticket back after he had it for 50 years and lost it. So I will thank him on that. Ongoing now, I think what we're going to do, I really don't know. Who the next person comes in cannot be a puppet. He cannot be a puppet. He has to do it by his own mind. He can't do it with his hands tied behind his back. He has to have full control on decisions and not be influenced by people above him. He have his own ideas, his own thought. And if he has to clash with the people upstairs, you clash with the people upstairs. So, you know what I mean? He has to have a whole new mind. I really don't know who's it going to be. I really don't know. I mean, is it going to be another puppet, like you say, or is it going to be somebody from another team? Like you say, will Ineos bring their own guy in? I hope so. I really do. So Jim, maybe has he got somebody from used to be at PSG?
He's got Claude. He's got Claude Blanc. He's actually his managing director of Ineos' sport industry, and he's probably the natural selection for a CEO for Manchester United. You look back at his record; he came into Juventus on the board to begin with when they got relegated. He then got promoted to CEO inside that system because he was the man with the vision and the plan. And quoting one of their former managers, Claude Blanc's last masterpiece that he left Juventus was, in the last 5 years, he managed to create a financial plan to rebuild their stadium and get it back up the scratch again.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
It's not a man. It's not a man that he's going to come in and butt heads with the top, because I believe under this structure, if it is Sir Jim, he's going to be left to do his job, which is managing the finances of the clubs, making sure the sporting department have the tools they need, and to manage a way to rebuild and re-energize investments in the stadium, training ground. Basically everything he did when he was at Juventus, and maybe as well, if you look at his record when he went into PSG, he was the man that basically turned PSG from a nobody club into the commercial brand that they were.
Mm-hmm.
Just with the players, just with the whole branding of PSG. So all the boxes we've been asking for in a CEO, he does fill most of the criteria.
They won the first title. They won 2 titles in 2 decades, PSG. Yeah. Then all of a sudden he came in. They won the title in 2013, didn't they? With Beckham and all that, and Zlatan.
It wasn't so much what he did for the ones on the pitch. It's what the ability that he gives the financial department and the branding department to grow. He's a pure CEO. He's a pure CEO. He is the kind of guy we need. Doesn't matter who's the owner. He is the type of CEO we need. Somebody to build this club back up. He's done it before. He's built clubs that have history before, and he's built clubs that had no history before. So he's been in both situations. I think he's a clear choice, obvious choice. Even if it was Qatar, I think they'd try and poach him off Ineos, because, as I say, he works for Ineos now. He is the head of their sporting department, and he was the guy that came in and has done the changes with Nice that are now showing a little bit more results compared to what they had previously. He came in 2022.
Is he in charge of Nice? Is he in charge?
No. He helped help point them in the right areas for their sporting department. So he was like the guy that goes, look, guys, you're getting this wrong. In my experience in the past, this is what my teams have done and the people I've brought in. And that's kind of changed for Nice a little bit. Nice have shown improvement this season. It's just if they can continue that there. But he is one of the guys that helped them rebuild what they were doing at Nice. That's my opinion on the matter. In a way, I don't know if Tom has anything different to add to it.
No. With what Paul said, it's correct. I mean, even when Ineos, they actually bought in, and Ratcliffe bought in with Nice. They bought it for, I think it was over 100 million euros from a Chinese investor. And then over time, what they've done with Nice is they've had to try and grow the football club over a considerable period of time. They don't have the sponsors that PSG have, for example, like what Jean-Claude Blanc did, where he built up the brand, he built up the exposure of the football club, more commercially based on that side of things, while PSG ran the QSI really was more involved with the sporting operations of the football club. And like what Paul was saying, you give Jean-Claude Blanc the operation, you basically give him the keys and say, go, your vision for this football club, go and implement it inside the football club. It's not, we give you the plan and you follow our instructions. You come up with a model and you structure it for us. It's almost in many cases kind of what Soriano and Tixi have done, Berenstein at Manchester City, where it's Abu Dhabi bringing a football and commercial expert, tell them to work together and say, go and build us a football and brand model for, the next 10 years. And that's what they've been implementing for the last 6-7 years with Pep Guardiola, and long may it probably continue with those two at Manchester City.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go on, Andy.
Can I ask just a question? Has he had any influence at the Swiss team? Because they have been relegated. Lausanne, yeah. Has he had any control there?
No. Like Paul,
he only came in the last 2 years.
2 years, yeah, with Nice, and then from then on, he's been influential over the football operations at Nice, and then more to the point, like Paul was saying, he then took up the director sporting role within Ineos, and he runs the whole sporting brand for Ineos as a company side of things. But then obviously you have people like Sir Dave Brailsford, who's one of, if you like, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's right-hand man, Team GGB Cycling, very influential in terms of the sort of characters and influences you need within your football club. And if you're going to run an audit of the club to see its football operations, commercial, if you're going to run an audit, Sir Dave Brailsford's the perfect guy who you want to run through every single part of an operation, because the guy knows what it means to win in sport. That's the one thing that you can say with Sir Dave Brailsford. And in the same way that Paul was saying with Jean-Claude Blanc is, he knows how to build a brand, he knows how to build a stadium. Those are two major things that United really as a brand, they need to restructure, because they're not getting the big sponsorship deals that they should be at this point in time as a football club. And also they're not getting the actual stadium sort of infrastructure or the investment into the stadium that they need in this moment in time. And if you take anything from what Ineos did with Nice as well, they built Nice a new stadium, for people that don't know anyway. I think they increased the capacity by 15,000 seats in Nice stadium, and then over time they've put in plans in place where they can still extend it to a further 10,000 over the top of that if they want to. So the people that are being sort of quoted around, and let's not get giddy or ahead of ourselves, they're not in the door yet, but the sort of people that are being linked to this football club right now, especially from the Ineos side of things, they have the qualification and experience that their predecessors at Manchester United have lacked. Ed Woodward, brilliant financier, director, brilliant person who if you want to negotiate a deal with. Might not seem like it in football terms, but in business terms, it's a different argument. And Richard Arnold pretty much followed the same suit. And then when you bring it on to now someone like Jean-Claude Blanc, he understands the side of football, but he's more of a business profile character. And he will build Manchester United a brilliant brand model, but it's his vision. It won't be Ratcliffe and Brailsford's vision if he comes in. That's the difference, and that's why what Paul was saying was correct, where the guy who you need to bring in, if you bring in Jean-Claude Blanc, any sort of future sort of proposals like a stadium or anything, he'll have a massive influence on, because he's been there and done it at another big European football club, and he built PSG from a little nobody club in France, where they were suddenly on par with Marseille and Lyon as top French clubs, and then they've massively overtaken those two clubs in the last 3-4 years as a brand. And like we say, over time, you can see the success that Juventus had under his tenure there. And then also PSG, more or less in their own country, have done. And, nevertheless, PSG have got to Champions League finals as well while he's been there. Mm. So there has been a sustained period there where there have been positives to Jean-Claude Blanc's influence on those football clubs. But again, he's not in the door yet. So I will say to Manchester United, edge on caution.
I think we're missing the biggest thing about Blanc as well, is he is wildly respected when it comes to the higher echelons of football operations. I'm talking when you're dealing with other clubs, when you're dealing with agents, players, and you're sitting down to the table with Blanc. People may make fun of his name. People may say, I've never heard of this guy. But I'll tell you right now, there's every single board in European football know who Jean-Claude Blanc is. Everybody knows him. There's a reason the Qataris brought him in the first place to build PSG, because he is the best in class. And that is what we've been calling for. Just because he's Sir Jim's man doesn't mean it's bad. A lot of people will say that. But PSG bring the best in class people in, the Qataris usually bring the best in class people into their business. Yep. And the first name they had on their list was Jean-Claude Blanc. That just has to speak words about his caliber of character.
Who does he answer to? Does he answer to Sir Jim Brailsford, or does he answer to Glazer as well? All three.
Ineos.
Well,
Ineos.
It'll be
it's all three of them. John Curry, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and there's the other one. I can't remember what the guy's name is.
Yeah, I know the one.
This is the thing. This is the separation that you need from United. You need owners to board separation. What this does, if this deal goes through the way it's expected to go through by a lot of people, is Ineos are taking over football. Football includes the footballing CEO of the company. They switched commercial to the chair people. That's the head board is supposed to be the people that make these commercial decisions and everything. The CEO should be concentrating on running the club. And I've said this time and time again. If this is a phased buyout by Sir Jim, starting with 25% and building up, the Glazers are not going to care what money Manchester United spends, because the profits from Manchester United become minuscule compared to the money that they'll make out if Sir Jim in the next 3 or 4 years manages to bring in massive amounts of revenue, because then they get more money for their shares. You get very little from dividends compared to what you would get from an earn-out structure. So I think Jean-Claude Blanc, he'll answer to Ineos, and Ineos will trust Jean-Claude Blanc to make the right decisions, like every other board in the whole of world football.
Yep.
For people who doesn't know Jean-Claude Blanc, I have a picture of him here. I just want to share so you guys will see who we're talking about. Give me 2 seconds. I will bring him up. Here he is. This is Jean-Claude. Oh. no, that's Jean-Claude Van Damme. Sorry, it was the wrong picture.
Basically, how Jean-Claude Van Damme,
today.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, what he was back in the
No, this is the right pictures. I'm only kidding. Here he is with the PSG logo in behind. So yeah, he's a well-renowned. Did he work as a DOF? Was that his title?
He's never
Or
been
sporting
a DOF,
director.
No. He's always been either he's sort of been head of a board of directors, or he's been CEO at major football clubs. That's
or general manager. I think it's general manager was his title at Juventus as well. That's their CEO, general managers, kind of the two titles that he kind of earned.
Italian clubs title it differently to English and other European football clubs. Like, for example,
he does look a little bit like Sir Jim. That's funny. He does look a little bit like Sir Jim.
That's spooky. That is spooky.
It's Sir Jim in disguise. He's doing both jobs.
At birth. One was born in Failsworth in Manchester, and one was born in France. So yeah.
But like as I say, this guy, he's not going to come in to be the person that makes us win titles. He's going to be the person that builds the foundations for our sporting department to win titles. He's going to give his job will consist of here's all the tools for the brand, the money you need, the sporting infrastructure. Now you go and achieve it. That's his job, which is what a CEO should be doing for United, not making the footballing decisions, but giving the ability for the club to make them football decisions and to implement them football decisions.
This is what worries me. Will he get the permission to do it? You know what I mean? This is why we're all what we're doing now. He may get in, but will he get the okay to implement this, that, A, B, and C and D? So
long term, he will do. Should Ratcliffe buy the football club in its entirety? I think that's under no illusions to it. But at the end of the day, when what you're saying, Andy, correct? Yeah, we don't know what the agreements are with this contract that the Glazer family and Ratcliffe and Ineos have. We don't know if it's watertight and it's like for definite that any decision, if we want to sign a football player, if we want to terminate players' contracts, if we want to negotiate with football agents about renewing contracts or signing players, do we have the authority to do that, or do we have to go through the channels of the Glazer family because we only have sporting control? There's so many loopholes and different
this is
problems
the Wolf
with
of Wall Street.
That's
you know it.
That's the
it's a perfect question, but one thing I'll just say to this here is what do Glazers love more than absolutely anything else, including having operational control of Manchester United, and that's the dollars in their back pocket, and that's exactly what Sir Jim's going to give them for control. He's going to give them the dollars. He can't give them their full dollar that they want now, which is very understandable because they want a ridiculous amount of money, but he can in 3 or 4 years. And if they want that money in 3 or 4 years, unfortunately, they're going to have to let Sir Jim and his team come in and do what they want. And for people that says Sir Jim would be a Glazer enabler, sometimes you have to get in bed with the devil to get him out of your bed. And that's the simple point of it. They were never going to get up and leave unless you give them enough money. And unfortunately, nobody had the money to put on the table at the start.
Hell of a one night stand that is. If that.
Oh, hell of a one night stand, mate.
Hell of a one night stand that, mate. I tell you.
Where did that even come from?
We have to bring in the VAR room now and see a couple of comments what they are saying about this. We have Jonathan Borg coming in here. He says, guys, we have to talk about Jim and his curse. He brought 33% of Mercedes F1. They stopped winning. He bought Sky cycling team. They stopped winning. He bought some American rugby club, but they turned shit, etc., etc. So what do you guys know about this?
Can't keep doing it. you say it's got. You can't keep. It's got to change, and sooner or later it's going to click. Now you're seeing Nice challenging in the French league and all that, and a second fighting for the French title. And you say it could click. You don't know. You know what I mean? It could click at one. It might not click at another. But
also, you have to bring context into it. When he took over that Sky team, remember they were just coming off the back of one of the biggest drug scandals you've ever seen in cycling. When he took over Mercedes, you've seen basically the Man City of Formula One come in the form of Red Bull that have broken financial rules, broken any type of mechanical rule they can find a way to get around. There are context to it, but as you say, he moved into the sport industry. He's going to get stuff wrong. But when it comes to, like, I always say this, when it comes to his teams, like the Swedish team he has, is it Swedish? I think.
Switzerland.
The Switzerland. Nice. There's a different caliber of people you can get in to come and run them institutions. I'm pretty sure Claude Blanc is sitting at Ineos because maybe he was told by Ratcliffe, there's a chance you may be running Manchester United in the future, mate. And he's like, hell yeah, I want that job. What person wouldn't?
If we qualify, say we qualify, we get the fourth, get Champions League, Nice get Champions League. That's not allowed, is it? Because
change the board.
Girona are top of the Spanish league, and they are run by Pep's brother. So you can't have one or the other. Somebody has to bow out of the Champions League.
No, RB Leipzig, old RB Salzburg, as long as the boards that run the club are completely different and separate entity companies, it's okay. As long as Red Bull fund both RB Leipzig and RB Salzburg, but the company that runs, I think it's Leipzig, is actually Red Bull Football, and they're actually a completely different board and a separate company entity, which is quite funny because that's how basically Sir Jim runs the Ineos Empire. It's one head company with smaller companies throughout the whole structure. That's how you get around the rule. So Sir Jim won't be allowed to be on the board of Nice and be on the board of Manchester United or Claude Blanc or David Bralsberg. They have to be separate entities running the business. Doesn't matter where the money comes from, who's the head of it. They just have to be separate. And as I say, RB Leipzig and RB Salzburg are the perfect example of it. UEFA's already okayed that, and plus UEFA are looking to change them rules very soon anyway. They're looking to change the multi-club rule because that's where the money's going, unfortunately. If you don't allow these big entities to own multiple clubs, then unfortunately clubs are going to fall to pieces.
Yeah. I see here we have a good question. Who will Blanc answer to while Glazers are still at the club? Will he answer to the Ineos sporting department, or will he answer to the board members and head of the club, Glazers?
I think the Glazers are going to take a back seat. Honestly, if this is an earn-out situation and they're having Sir Jim come in and run the sporting department, everything around United is should be to facilitate the sporting department. I don't see why the Glazers would interfere anymore. The only reason they want to...
I think the fear from most fans are because we know the Glazers for 18 years now, and they have been putting their fingers into everything and making it shit, basically.
Yeah, but
So my problem with that assumption is, well, the proof is in the pudding. We have seen the Glazers, and they ruin everything when it comes to the sport.
There's more to this than meets the eye. To cut because I believe it's something to do with the area around Carrington. And I've heard this. Mick's gone on about it. Maybe they've been promised the Glazers. There's a hell of a payday there with fracking issues and all that.
You'll never get that pass. You'll never get that pass in environmental things. There was a frack.
Like you say, rules are meant to be broken.
It's true.
This is why the Glazers are here now.
It is true, but then it is true. But the fracking kind of thing, the current government that are pushing that fracking kind of agenda is completely falling apart, and they're not going to be here in 4 or 5 years. You can't buying an entity like this for the hope that you'll get fracking coming to this term of parliament that you have is
trying to say
it's very epic.
They take the cash from the fracking. That's their payday. You know what I mean?
Their payday will be.
Jim gets the money that way and pays off. So
I think the Glazers are going to get their money out of the Sir Jim deal down the line anyway, because I think this whole situation has just came because Sir Jim had to find a way to hit their valuation for the club. They wanted a ridiculous amount of money up front. You were never going to hit that money unless you really dug deep into your pockets. You're talking upwards of $6 billion. And I agree with what Tom said a couple of days ago, or maybe it was last week. I do believe once this Sir Jim deal is completed, he is going to pay anywhere between 6.5 to over 7 billion for this club. I think that's his price line, because it's going to be over a period of, you would estimate maybe 3 years for him to have minority control, to then 6 years or 5 years to completely take the Glazers and the rest of the A shareholders out. And it's a very standard business deal. It's an earn-out situation.
Yeah, but that's assuming the Glazers want to sell.
Oh, they'll sell for the money.
If they get the sporting department going, and
it has to be signed.
and the club, let's say we qualify for the Champions League and starting to be better as a football club, the valuation will rise. So 6-7
but
billion,
it's finding some. The problem is you have to find somebody to match that valuation. At the moment, they've got somebody that's maybe willing to hit that valuation in 3 or 4 years of anywhere between 6.5 to 7 billion. There's no guarantee that if they grow United and Sir Jim gets it right, that somebody's going to come in then and put 8-9 billion on the table. The problem is the Glazers are wanting out.
Deal and revenues. The revenues will go up. And
I'll put it this way.
Amazon comes in, and we will have more money into the clubs. They are talking about the record revenue. They want 1 billion in the revenue. Now there's 650 million a year, but they're aiming up.
Well, I'll put it this way. It's taken the Glazers, if you take out what they've actually sold in shares, it's taken the Glazers 10 plus years to take out about £400 million in dividends payments. The bulk of their money they've taken out of United into their own personal pockets has been selling shares. It takes a hell of a lot of time to generate 7 odd billion in dividends. They are in a bit of a problem financially in their own families' businesses. They are basically...
What shame.
Yeah, they're basically malls. A lot of their retail and everything are in malls that are completely dying off. So they do need to sell. They do need to move on for United, but they don't want to sell themselves cheap. So they get the best of both worlds with Sir Jim. If you think about it, they get to then walk away from Manchester United, say in about 3 or 4 years. We've sold Manchester United for the biggest sports brand in total's been sold. Plus, because of Sir Jim, the club's successful, we didn't leave it in a shit. So it makes them look a little bit. People inside Manchester United fans will say, "Yeah, look, they ran at the shit. Sure, Jim saved them." People outside be like, "Oh, they just needed somebody to come and help them. They're not bad owners." You know, it's all about perceptions. But I honestly think if Qatar came in and they sat £7 billion on the table, the Glazers would have ran out the door laughing their heads off with bags full of cash.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I don't think they did hit that valuation. And as I say, I agree with Tom. I think he'll pay anywhere upwards of 6.5 to 7.5 billion for this club in the end.
Yeah. I just want to read some comments of the chat. I see Stephanie Griffin comes in here, 38 likes. So everybody, please hit that like. That's our revenue. And it's so easy. Just hit the thumbs up, and it will help the algorithms and get us more viewers. And we want to reach out for as far as we can and talk and spread the word how the club is being run, and the Glazers and the Takeover. So please hit the like, and I also attached the link to the Twitter link in the comments, so you can just go there and retweet on Twitter, and I will read out the people who retweet at the end of the show. So that will help a lot. Tom, I haven't heard from you in a couple of minutes. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah. Do you have any comments on this? You usually have a lot of comment when it is talk about the takeover.
In terms of the club investment coming in.
Yep.
Yeah, if we were talking about the £245 million or $300 million, as far as I'm aware anyway, that's going to come from Sir Jim Ratcliffe himself, and he's putting his own investment and his own money into the football club, which, you know, it's not a major amount in terms of it's going to do hard. It's not going to touch the sides in terms of the infrastructure. I'll keep it very simple in that. It won't even do a stand. You know, 18 months ago, you know, if you put roughly about £250 million down, you would have been able to extend the Sir Bobby Charlton stand for around about that figure. But the cost of borrowing and financing for projects and stuff, and really even the project for the Sir Bobby Charlton stand, it's going to cost in excess of 400-500 million pounds before you can even expand on it. And even if you're talking like we were discussing before regarding the sort of level of investment it would take to build a new stadium, the Glazer family used the same architectural guidance that Joe Lewis and Daniel Levy used when constructing the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And from that point, they got to the figures of White Hart Lane needed a rebuild. There wasn't a resolution where they could have expanded it, modernised it. It was rebuild because it will be more cost effective and you'll have something brand new. And the way that Manchester United constructed it was going to cost over £1.5 billion to redevelop the whole ground. And that was going to take in excess of 8 to 10 years. And you would still have to play in those years as well. There's not really a stadium that you can ground share with in the north. Manchester City using the Etihad, I don't think United fans would want to do that. And I don't think Manchester City would welcome it anyway. So there's an issue there regarding actual playing for Manchester United with the club of that size and the capacity that it currently holds at this point. And then if you were to just knock it down and start from scratch again, it would actually take a lot less because you're not having to build around the stadium. As far as I'm aware, we're going to take about 5 or 6 years, but you're talking £2.5 billion, and that's just estimates. They're not exact figures because you haven't got a model to build from. So in terms of the question that the viewer posed about, where's the investment coming from? If it's going to be for a new stadium rebuild, it will be borrowed money. There's no two ways about it. Ratcliffe doesn't, you don't buy a club or you don't buy 25% of a business and then suddenly become the financier for everything. It's not going to happen. So if at the end of the day he gets control of the football club, there might be a conversation that Ineos might have where Ineos might pay for the new stadium. Ratcliffe might, find a couple of billion out of his pocket like he's doing with 100 million and purchase it. We don't know. But until the guy has ultimate control and there's no Glazer family member in the football club, from that point onward, really, is when you can say, well, everything from that day dot, there's no influence of the family. So it is Sir Jim Ratcliffe and it is his sort of model and structure. But in terms of the level of investment, investment that United need, they need more than £245 million for a stadium. It won't touch the sides. So at the end of the day, he said it's an initial start-up investment. And more or less, you're going to have to need bigger and bigger books, really, to carry forward to do or make any significant improvement, whether it's the ground or internally in the club.
You probably find with his investment will be to stabilise stuff, maybe put money in to get Carrington up for scratch. He could use a bit of the money to fix up the parts of Old Trafford that really do need fixed up, as in the roof and stuff like that. But when you're talking about levels of building a new stadium, he's got to use loans. Barcelona have done it. Real Madrid have done it. Arsenal have done it. Tottenham have done it. Everton have done it. Chelsea were looking at doing it even under Abramovich's thing. He was looking to take out a loan for that new stadium. Every sports institution does it. The only thing is, it's not going to affect us if Sir Jim isn't fully in charge when he would implement this. One big thing is the debt's going to be taken off United's books because once he gets majority control, the debt clause kicks in and he has to deal with the debt, basically. United's revenues are so much that, you take £1.5 billion loan out to build a brand new stadium for Manchester United. You're talking pennies coming out of United's accounts to pay for that compared to what we can actually spend in the transfer market. Because do remember, by the time this all happens, the UEFA hard cap comes in where we can only spend 70% of our revenues to do with playing staff, players, agents' fees, transfers. So we'll have 30% of our revenue sitting there doing nothing. Yeah, take out a big £1.5 billion loan and go and build me a new stadium. You won't hear me complaining because it doesn't affect the footballing side. It's just simple economics. Arsenal had the problem where they overpaid for their stadium or loans and had to cut back on their transfers. Same with Tottenham. When it comes to United, we will not have that problem. Our revenues were double what Arsenal's and Tottenham's were. Double. So if they can do it, we can easily do it.
I'm waiting for a twist where the club announced to Jim, sorry guys, we're going to play in London for 2 years while a new stadium's being built. Honestly, mate, we're playing at Wembley. all them season ticket holders, you can't even get down there. You know what I mean?
Well, there was original.
Pardon?
There was original plans actually drawn up by Malcolm Glazer to build a new stadium for United. And that's the reasons why he was originally in place. He was buying the land up around Old Trafford because he wanted just to build a brand new stadium away from just slightly beside Old Trafford, bring Old Trafford down and turn Old Trafford into an entertainment complex. What he was trying to do is basically, if you go look at any stadium in the NFL, you have a stadium inside a palladium of entertainment. That was his original plan. And I would not be surprised if maybe whoever buys United go along with something similar. Because one thing you guys probably know that go to matches and live around Manchester better than I, how many people are around Old Trafford on all match days? Now imagine you build them a palladium of entertainment. What's that going to do for the brand, for the money you're bringing in? It's a money printing machine. It's just unfortunately his sons didn't see it that way and they listened to Mr. Woodward and his idea of Galactico superstars to bring in the revenue and big sponsorship deals, not actually investing in the infrastructure. He thought that was second class, wasn't needed.
Yeah, just gonna read some more comments. I see we have 45 likes now, so at least we should get to a 50. So hit the like, everybody. I see some things. Some guys. I see Almax says, I think this guy thinks the Rat will pay for the stadium. He will love the club with debt. So there's different types of debt. You mentioned it, Paul White, the other day or today actually on the podcast. In the space, we have the actual debt, we have player debt, and we have credit debt. Isn't that the three types?
Yeah,
How does
all of that
the FFP?
Well, our liability debt that's on the club doesn't really affect FFP. It comes kind of out of our money, so there's no real effect on that there. The money that we owe for players comes into a bit of the calculation when it comes to UEFA's FFP calculation. But to be totally honest, if Jim Ratcliffe has £300 million that he's putting in over the next so many years, we get that injection. So even if he puts that money in and say 90 million to go to build the roof, that actually comes out of our FFP and allows us to actually spend more money. The credit line's going to get paid off. The biggest problem with United's debt over the recent years has been the fact that, one, we haven't sold any players of any type of money of value, and two, our owners haven't put anything else to help us balance the books. You start selling players properly and you start putting money in, and even if it's in for infrastructure, it counts for FFP, you'll find we'll be able to have a little bit more wiggle room. And another big thing is cutting off the useless wages as well. You know, we still have Martial sitting on, what, 240k a week? We have Jadon Sancho now that's playing PlayStation or Xbox sitting on £375,000 a week. You know, there's a lot of wasted wages in this team. If you're not going to play Jadon Sancho and the manager doesn't want to use him, you need to sell him. You know, decisions like that need to be made. Whether we like Jadon Sancho as a player or not, if he is not wanted by the sports team, by the manager, or is a bad influence, you need to get rid of him. You know, Harry Maguire, for instance, yes, he's doing well now, but he wasn't the manager's choice. 190k. Donny van de Beek, 120k. You know, there's a rack of names you could go off. You know, signing Anthony on £200,000 a week. You know, these decisions are what affect our FFP more than the debt. These operational ones are what affect our FFP. Stuff that is stupid decisions that need fixed.
Yeah. I see here Almac comes in and say we can't afford any more debt. At the moment, we don't have any liquidity. We don't have any money in the bank. We used them up during the Corona period. So we started using the credit card.
I heard that the other month. There's about 80 million left.
At the end of June, the beginning of June, the end of our financial year, we had
80 million left in the kit.
Yeah, we used to have about 250 million, but that was ate up by COVID. COVID destroyed our cash reserves. Hence why the Glazers had to go for financial aid, because all our cash reserves that they rely on disappeared because of COVID. Yeah. And the Harry Maguire transfer took about 80 million of that in cash as well, which was madness. But yeah, you know, COVID's what's caused it.
But is it true that it leaves us with no wiggle room when it comes to the economics because we don't have any cash reserves? We have to spend. We can't spend until we get the next paycheck when we get the
We've got a
revenues
new
for the
Adidas
TV
deal
deals.
next year,
And
haven't we? We've got a new Adidas
No,
deal,
2025.
new sponsors as well.
You've got Snapdragon coming in next year. Adidas doesn't come in until
Adidas,
2000.
new deal
It doesn't
starts
come
next
in.
season.
No, 2025.
See?
Our current deal with Adidas doesn't finish to the 2024-25 season, so their new one starts in 25-26.
Yeah, and then it
The
also
problem
renews
is
under different terms.
the problem is we don't sell players. If we were to sell players and get rid of players and not put them on high wages, we'll have the wiggle room in our FFP. Hence why Jim's small investment of 300 million actually helps us a hell of a lot when it comes to the January transfer window, because it does give us an extra 100 million of wiggle room that we haven't had in 3 years because we haven't had any owner investment going in. Actually, a little fact for you. Do you know how many years it's been since anybody that has owned a stake in Manchester United has actually put their own money into this club? 36 years. 18 years longer than the Glazers have been was the last time any owner that owned any percentage of put money into this club. That's how sustainable we are as a football club if we had proper oversight and proper control. 36 years. Not just the Glazers regime, but you're talking the old regimes as well. Didn't put a penny into the club. It's all built off the back of fans. Yep, didn't put a penny in. 36 years. How shocking is that? I only found that out a couple of weeks ago and I couldn't believe it when I heard it.
But at least they invested in the club by building a new stadium and training facilities and stuff like that. So they were doing something.
But they didn't use their own money. They didn't use. Yeah, that's the point. They didn't do their own money. They used the club's money to do it. As Sir Jim right now notices the club needs investment and he's willing to stump that money up out of his own back pocket. So he's definitely not a Glazer 2.0 that people call him because, well, you look at Paul Mitchell, Lauren Blanc putting your own money in. Does any of that ring Glazer 2.0 in anybody's head?
Mm-hmm.
No. The only thing is when we say these names and we say a set amount of number, and that's only an initial number anyway. It's not the final figured. It's not the final figured number. Like
I think the rumor's something like 2.2 billion, isn't it?
Yeah,
the rumors are
over about $2 billion, but it's not all of his own money. Most of it will be investments, and obviously he still has to buy the football club out with a set amount of money, which he's using to borrow as well from JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. But it's over a sustained period of time because he's not buying straight away. He's buying over numerous years. So interest payments won't probably be as harsh on him as it would be if it was to come out in one lump sum and then they can ramp up the interest over time. But even with what we're saying, guys, like we've never had proper guidance from a CEO who says this is a vision, this is a project. You've never had somebody really take control of the sporting department ever. John Murtough is Manchester United's first ever director of football. And I don't really think ever since he come in the door, he never really got the grasp of player recruitment. He didn't have the clientele list of major sports and football agents. I mean, when you take into account, for example, Jorge Mendes, who's one of the big super agents in world football, John Murtough wasn't the main negotiating guy to bring Cristiano Ronaldo back to Manchester United. In fact, Sir Alex Ferguson played more of a part in Ronaldo coming back to United than John Murtough did. And that's Manchester United's football director for you. So when you think about world football agents, and Jorge Mendes doesn't just go for the super clients like Ronaldo or top Europeans. He goes for young Portuguese kids that even at some point in time when, for example, Ruben Diaz was at Benfica at the time, and he was always linked to United and Manchester City. He was one of Jorge Mendes' clients when he was 21 years old, and he always has been ever since. But player recruitment, when you take a guy like Paul Mitchell, who's had every experience in a football department, he's been a technical director, he's been a scout, he's been a football director, he's been every single name under the sun. So he's got the experience, and we already know with his time at Spurs, Dele Alli, Paul Mitchell was influential in. Heung-min Son, Paul Mitchell was influential in. Key players, even if you go as far to Leipzig.
Harry Kane, he backed up he backed up the manager. He backed up the manager when I think. Oh no, it wasn't actually him. Sorry, that was under Tim Sherwood, wasn't it? Yeah, it wouldn't have been Mitchell. It was the old director that backed up Sherwood.
Afterwards, anyway, but Pochettino still stuck with him rather than buying a new striker and going forward with a player that he's more familiar with. but they just developed the player. But even in saying that, like I'm saying, we've never had a guy who's been a CEO who has the vision. You never have a guy who runs a sporting department who has the clientele list, but also has the experience to back it up. And then you'd never have the investment coming into the club, which is going to influence the CEO to be able to make brilliant brand deals with, like you're saying, Adidas. You might have got a better deal out of Adidas, having Jean-Claude Blanc there. You might, for example, in the sporting departments, you might be able to sell players a lot better having Paul Mitchell sit there. But the one thing that we can say anyway, listen, you can be for Sir Jim Ratcliffe, you can be for Qatar, who aren't even there anymore, you can be for whoever you want. The difference is, who would you rather have in these seats? And this is a question to the viewers anyway. Who would you rather have, Richard Arnold, John Murtough, or Jean-Claude Blanc and Paul Mitchell? That's the difference. And listen, these guys aren't even in the door yet. But if they come through the door, time is of the essence. And these people, they don't work in months. You need to give them a sustained couple of years to actually build something. Paul Mitchell, for example, he didn't build that team with Pochettino at Spurs in 2 minutes. He built it in like 3-4 years. And they only just got to a Champions League final, year 4 and 5. That was it. So it takes time for these people to implement what they actually want to do or influence over a football club. But again,
I do it as well.
They only have 25%, and as a group, Ineos, they only control the sporting operations. That's it. But until they get full grasp of it, that's when they can stamp their sort of authority on what they want to do on the football club.
The thing about the 25%, he only has 25%. But if things go the way certain people that way beyond me in M&A that talk about it as well says, there is a possibility, there is a way he can actually purchase B shares. He could be, by the end of this first transaction, the highest B shareholder in the whole of the company. Everybody talks about 19% that Joel has. Joel doesn't have 19% of a percentage share in Manchester United. He has 19% voting power. He actually only has 13.8% of B shares. So if Sir Jim is able to buy B shares and comes in with a 25% stake, he is the big dog in the small room. Yeah, they have the other Glazers. But remember, them other Glazers have been looking at what Joel and Havram have been doing it the last 18 years and going, what have you actually done to this place? You're destroying our legacy. Nothing's to say that the situation is a very, very quick example. I don't think this will happen, but this is a very example of how he could get power. He's voted in as co-chairman, and the other 4 siblings take their proxy vote away from Joel and give it to Sir Jim. De facto makes Sir Jim the head dog of Manchester United. That is an entirely possibility that could happen. As I say, we won't know until we see the deal. So it's very, I just don't like people when they fall off the 25% is not going to work, because there's many ways it could work, and it could actually give him a lot of control and power. And I think we've just seen an example of it today. When have you ever heard of a minority investor that has had no power come in, and the first action before it's announced is your CEO walks out the door? That is a very good example of what power he has. You're not going to put in your own CEO if that CEO is not going to be able to enable your vision. You're going to have some type of contract agreement or handshake about that.
I think that handshake outside Old Trafford between Arnold and Old Trafford.
It looked like an Alan Sugar moment.
Yeah,
that was an Alan Sugar.
What would he say beneath the breath like that? You're fucking done, eh, mate? You know what I mean?
I don't want you anymore.
You're fucking done. You know what I mean? P45, fuck off.
It's about improvement. The one thing you can say about Sir Jim is when he comes into, you can say what you want about the sporting department, but when he comes into a business, if he sees underperforming top end level high executives, managers, they do not last long. Very seldom. Most of them walk out the door before he comes in. That's a true fact.
Just bring up that
Ed Woodward.
Just bring up that comment, Jarvis, that I can't remember who it was that made about Paul Mitchell regarding with Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia. This is the question here. Do we believe Paul Mitchell is going to work miracles? City have Abu Dhabi and Newcastle have Saudi Arabia. We've got Glazers and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. We can't compete. Well, here's a fun fact anyway for people that don't know. Manchester United had no debt in the world, and Manchester United were a debt-free football club. They are a nation state. But they're not owned by a country. The money that United generate is just as good as money that a nation state like Saudi Arabia can put into Newcastle or Abu Dhabi can put into Manchester City. Because United will be able to compete for the best players in world football. having this conversation and debate, will Man United be in the race for Kylian Mbappe? It won't be will they, it will be they're already there. That's the difference. So Manchester United having no debt on the football club, like Paul was saying before, if you want to build a new stadium, United's revenues can pay off for a new stadium. 30% of it over, say, 3-4 years, done. It's gone. That's already done. Man United's revenues, as much as Manchester City want to cook the books like they have done, saying that they make £700-800 million in an annual turnover. Yeah, I know you've won the treble, lads, but Jesus Christ, you've not won any lottery tickets. The overall revenue of Manchester City, they can't fill out a stadium. And they want to expand a stadium that they can't fill out. And then they want to try and con everybody on that they're multi-millionaires and they run a brilliant, and it's not a corrupt football operation. Chelsea, we're seeing right now with the rumours that come out today, they've cooked the books over so many years. Manchester City under investigation for 116 now, FFP charges. Everton, recently, they've corrupted the financial system in football, and they got Leeds, Southampton and Leicester all relegated while they cook the books to stay in the league. And they're going to probably get a major points deduction because of it.
Yeah, we will talk about that a little bit later in the show, Tom.
Go on, Jarvis.
So, but great questions. When it comes to, I have something I'm been thinking about. When it comes to doing deals with Paul Mitchell, if he comes in, we have still the Glazers in the club. It looks like a lot of the big agencies. You mentioned. You mentioned Rafaela Pimenta with she's the one who took over Raiola's
clientele,
and Mendy. We never buy players from those agencies anymore. Nope. It looks like the Glazers have I don't know if they're not talking, they're not communicating, and that leaves us out of a big pool of the biggest, most talented players. I recently saw that we were linked to this player. Let's see, here he is, that Neves guy. Just bring it to the screen. Yeah, here it is. João Neves, the Portuguese midfielder, and the scouts are monitoring him as we speak, and they want to make a decision. But for me, when I see links like this, I don't believe it, because I tweeted this the other day. That Man United will never get João Neves because Gesti Fuete is his agency, which represents Ruben Diaz, Bernardo Silva, Mateus Nunes, and Ederson. So this kid will go to City. There's no doubt about it, because we don't have the links with those agencies. And
that's what Paul Mitchell. That's what Paul Mitchell brings you. Paul Mitchell has fantastic links with people that he's dealt with, clubs that he's dealt with. Due to this time, one at Southampton, where he had a lot of links with a lot of the youth agencies around Europe for bringing in young talent, identifying young talent, bring them in. When he was at Tottenham, he also, Paul Mitchell was responsible for helping build probably the highest performing shoestring budget team besides Leicester. Do remember he dragged them all the way to a Champions League final, when they were on a very tight shoestring budget when he did that. He does have links. Claude Blanc, as I say, very respected man. It's about the network in your football team that you're building. And Mitchell on his loan, maybe not. You had Claude, yes. You also have Ineos that own Nice. You have a French connection there with the young French players. We're probably seeing one of the most promising young centre backs. Who owns it? Nice, Talibo. Very, very exciting centre back. You get them gems and different things. There is a network there to develop, but the problem is when these agents are dealing with United, they're dealing with the Glazers, and they know fine rightly when you go to deal with a contract with the Glazers, you're haggling over millions of pounds in a very large amount of time. You bring in a different negotiating team, Paul Mitchell, Blanc, stuff like that. Maybe the agents start dealing with us again because they know we're not going to just take them for a ride for 2 or 3 months and then go, he's actually too expensive. We're going to go with Christian Eriksen because he's free. That changes the emphasis on building them contracts.
Oh my God!
just want to say thank you to Rush Bono, who just gifted 10 MUFC Realist TV memberships. So you can read them in the chat, go to receive them. So thank you very much, Rush Bono. You really helped out the channel a lot. Legend. Thank you. Let's see, I just hide this. Yeah, maybe we should just move on to the next talking point, if it's okay for you. Yeah. Let's see. The next talking point I have here is VAR. So PGMOL and Howard Webb.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it, guys. Don't make me. I take it we all listened to that video then?
Yeah.
Subjective offside. Have you ever heard so much BS in your life? Subjective offside. Where's the clear and obvious error if it's bloody subjective?
I don't want to be nasty, but when all the guys say it's okay, it's a goal, and somebody else comes in and said it is a goal, they have a technicality. No. I'm not having it.
No.
Not having it.
Where's the...
I don't want to be branded nasty or anything, but no. When somebody else comes in, all the guys agree it's not a goal, it's a goal. Then somebody comes with a technicality, as I would say. No.
Okay. I just want to bring in Rush Mono. He actually gifted 10 more memberships. Rush Mono is on a roll here. Give him a big applause. Thank you very much, Rush Mono. You are the most legend of the legendary legends of this channel. Thank you very much. That's fantastic.
The thing is with that, it was so scripted. That show from last night with Howard Webb and Michael Owen, all scripted, even for the Newcastle. You know, Michael Owen never even challenged him on any of the decisions. It was scripted from the Referees Association, scripted from Sky. Nothing about challenging, and it was like JFK. This is what happened. This is the version, and you've got to stick with it. You know what I mean? Like we're 60 years on, and it's your anniversary next week. It was just like the report. You've got to deal. You've got to accept it. It's watered down. This is the version. This is what happened. Deal with it. And anyway, absolutely, it was God, man. Absolutely, it was like a bad episode of something like a trial for a new series, and it just fell flat on its ass first time.
Yeah, VAR in that kind of instance is there for clear and obvious mistakes. And when you actually openly have the conversation, subjective offside, VAR at that point should not be looking at that instance. You know, because it's not a clear and obvious error. If it's a subjective offside, where's the error? You know, yeah, one person may say, yeah, it's not offside, and the other one say, yeah, it's onside. That's
Oh my God!
more memberships.
And does that guy maybe work for VAR and is trying to make up for it?
AlienTenno, Peter.
Yeah, he's trying to he's trying to water us down. You know what I mean? We don't bend to the rules of the Premier League and VAR. We're our own channel.
Yeah. I think the VAR situation is just when I hear subjective offside, I'm just like, go away.
But when you read the question here, if you just let me read it, because everybody, we have discussed VAR every show now for the last 10 shows actually, and the PGMOL and Howard Webb seems happy how VAR is implemented. However, the fan base, they are not pleased. So there's a disconnect or a mismatch in the perspective between the fans and the ref. So my question is, why is this mismatch happening? Because at the moment, the referees look happy. They seem to get their decisions right. They never apologize. They just go out there and say, yeah, we did right, and explain why. And the fans are furious. They are ripping their hair off. They don't understand what's going on. So why is it a mismatch between the fans and the footballing fans and the referees?
Because that's football. because it's football. It's the exact same thing that happened before VAR was here, and you had the referees that didn't have video technology, and you had the referees and the linesman that thought they were doing a good job. Does anybody not remember what it was like when it was just referees? And how much when we were watching a match and we were just like, how has he made that decision? What is he doing there? And if anything, the decisions that they used to miss before VAR were awful. At least this time, some cases they do have a backup. But this biggest example, and we talk about this here, Barcelona versus Chelsea. Does anybody remember that Champions League game and tell me that referee, if he had VAR there, would he get away with half of the stuff that he'd done in that match?
I've seen a video this weekend. Corinthians, I think, in Brazil. It's on TikTok. It's out there. Let's just say some bad management stormed the control room in the stadium. Yeah, you couldn't have that in the Premier League. Honestly, they lost the game. They went up and confronted the control room and the VAR. You couldn't have that at a stadium in the country. But I'm telling you what, that is coming. Not on that level, but I keep saying this. They keep doing this. Team manager, but we're coming off. Game abandoned or whatever. Game delay until you sort it. No, it's coming. I'm going to say it. You may think I'm crazy, but it's coming.
Yeah,
I think it. Yeah.
Everything.
Tom, why do you think there's a mismatch between the referees and the fans?
Because the referees are so incompetent in this league, and they have been before the technology and using technology now. Technology was always going to bring the bad side of referees because it was going to make them look so much more incompetent. The one thing none of us knew when we brought VAR into the league was who was going to operate it. We didn't know if you were going to have the best experts in Europe operate the technology, like you have in the Champions League, for example, or you bring in your own panel. So, for example, you have someone like Howard Webb. You have all these ex-officials who claim to be experts that go on all of these big broadcasting companies and tell you how decisions should be made or shouldn't be. But half of a long time ago, when you think about how officiating was done in this league, it was done a lot differently to how it is now. Technology, when we all look at VAR, it's supposed to enable it, help the referee, but it doesn't. It doesn't step in when it needs to. It doesn't auto-correct decisions when it should, and it doesn't analyse every single decision that's influenced in a game. And from minute 1 to minute 90, any foul, any decision, you should have 3 operating screens. One that follows the game as it goes, one that pauses to look at every single foul and decision for serious foul play or if there's any influence on it, and then 3, you have a final decision maker over the influence. And that could be someone like Howard Webb. But at the end of the day, the problems of VAR, I already said it as it was. You either do 2 things. You get rid of it completely and you just forget using technology, or go and use the best systems that are in Europe, which are proven. UEFA and Qatar, when they did the World Cup, for example, through FIFA, they used the automated semi-auto system when they used it for offside. And then when you look at it from camera angles perspective, the Premier League, as I said before, are in a negotiation deal with Hawkeye to add, I think it was either 13 or 14 external angle cameras in every single Premier League ground from the 2024-25 season onward, because of the decision making and the lack of angles that they had for the Arsenal versus Newcastle match in that game with the controversy over was the ball in, was the ball out or not. The problem with referees is it's not the decision that they make that makes it look so bad. It's when you hear the audio, the wording and the terminology that they're using is shocking. When you think about elite high-performance football, not even football, just sports in general. The Premier League looked at the model that rugby had with when they used video assistant referee in their sport, and they looked at the technology that they have, but the technology in rugby and football couldn't be worlds apart. The advancement of rugby is you have line technology tracking inside every single rugby ball that gets put in play, so you know when the ball's been touched down or not. That's technology for you. In the Premier League, you wouldn't have that where you have a tracker inside of a football if it tells you it's over the line or not, because the technology doesn't work that far and it's not advanced in football because it's only new. So at the end of the day, when we discussed this, Jarvis, on that Monday show that time, they have two options: scrap the whole thing, or at the end of the season, you need a reshuffle, you need a rethink, because you can't keep going on with this same problem. Because before VAR, there wasn't every single weekend, there wasn't a VAR controversy. There wasn't a controversy about officiating. It might happen every once in a while where there's a major scandal around one of the decisions. But like Andy's saying, I agree with what Andy said. There will come a day where there will be that much of a disgraceful decision. It'll be put up on a big screen in a stadium, probably one of the new ones, like a Spurs stadium, got there on the big screen for all the supporters to see. The coaching staff, they have it on the technology systems in front of them. They'll see the decision. They'll say, "What the hell are we doing here, guys? What is going on?"
They can't show that. That's been banned. That if they show that on a big screen, that's been banned.
It depends if they do it for a replay, though. That's how they do it.
Here we go.
They only show it after a decision's been made. Go on, Jarvis, anyway, as well.
AlienTenno gifted 10 more memberships. The VAR-ROOM is going crazy today. Thank you, AlienTenno, for the 10 additional memberships. So now we have today 40 new members of the VAR-ROOM and the channel. So thank you very much. Welcome to the team, guys.
Thank you. And guys, can you smash the like button as well, please? We've got to be up to 60, nearly 65 likes now.
Yeah, at least.
How many people's watching, Jarvis? How many people's watching?
About 110 people at
the
moment.
Come on, people. Get the likes up.
Come on, what's up with you Muppets? Come on.
Don't be tight like the Glazer family have been for 18 years. We can get some likes up, people.
Well, with a 0 likes then, wouldn't we not? We would actually, what would be like minus 69 likes? That was the Glazers.
69, dude.
Universal number 69.
Oh my God, here we come.
Wait a minute, referee. You're going to have to blow your whistle this time.
10 new memberships. You gotta give them an applause. Another 10 members. So 50 new members today. Thank you again, AlienTenno. Peter, you are a legend. And Stephanie Griffin comes in. We have 61 Jarvis. Likes.
I've got a question. Where's AlienTenno's money coming from here? Are you borrowing it, mate? are you on the loan string? Are you on the phone? Halifax Bank or Santander?
Yeah, he's talking to Donald Trump, probably. You know what I mean?
I was going to say we're talking.
Big up, Peter. Though, love, big up.
I was going to say we're talking nice about SGR. Maybe somebody's paying them because when anything nice said about Sir Jim is paid media. Sorry. I've been hearing it too much today on Twitter, mate. It's fried my head all day.
Like they say in The Wolf of Wall Street, is any of this legal? Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
No. you can't say that word, but it's not legal.
Yeah.
I think with Hard Webb as well, Hard Webb is such a weird referee to have in charge of kind of the whole of the Premier League system with VAR, because let's face it, Hard Webb is very old school, tries to protect the referees as much as possible. And I think it's getting to the point now, and I think Andy's right, you're getting to the tipping point, even with the managers. You have now clubs backing up managers basically crying in press conferences like Arteta was, when a couple of weeks ago Arteta was standing there goes, "Oh, well, it is what it is, it's football." A couple of weeks later, the decision goes bad. It looks like he's going to throw his toys out the pram and storm out of the room. So something's going to happen.
Decision.
You know what?
Somebody big time. You don't. If it's relegation, Europe, 3 precious points in a title race, whatever.
Yeah. For me, the problem with the VAR is we all saw the incident when Højlund grabbed the arm of Rodri. It was a slight holding, and he dropped, and it was very dramatical, and there was a penalty from the VAR room. The referee didn't give it. It was Michael Oliver in the VAR room, and we had a similar incident when Newcastle played Arsenal and Gabriel was pushed in the back with 2 straight arms. We all saw it, but the referee let it go. He said, no, it was a soft push. So suddenly a soft push is not a foul, but the holding on Rodri was a foul, even if it was a soft holding.
Picking it up as you go along.
So that's the problem. The referees don't follow the consistency of the rules. They sometimes make it up. Sometimes it's soft, sometimes it's not, even though both are soft. So for me, that's the problem. The referees need clear guidelines that will fix
the problem is the problem is you can have as much clear guidelines as you want. All them decisions are subjective, so it doesn't matter if you have technology or not. If the referee sitting inside the VAR room thinks that's a foul, he's going to give a foul. And it's the same way as it was years ago when the referee in the pitch thinks that's a red card, it's a red card. You know, the biggest problem is, as I say, you can throw as many guidelines as you want. It's still going to be a subjective decision. What you need to do is you need to actually have people trained as referees that are based around VAR as their pure mantra. Because this slowing down of videos and as the tackle's coming in, you're making things look 5 times worse. You slow down a tackle, sometimes it makes it look like the player was looking to break his leg, but when you play at normal speed, it just looks like a normal play in the game.
Forget about playing a video. Just freeze frame it. Freeze framing makes it look 100 times worse. That's what I mean. You put your arm on someone's shoulder. You'd think that they've ripped their arm off, like you saw with
the Casemiro one last year.
Yeah, there you go.
The Casemiro one
last year. You stick it on him,
Yeah, you freeze frame there. It looks like he's throttling the guy, and it's the subjective decisions.
It's the subjective decision. It weren't even that he grabbed the guy's shit. He just pushed the guy, and it just so happened his hand slid up his chest. What are you supposed to do?
In that same incident, 2 other players were going at it as well.
Yeah. They were going off in the angle, in the left corner.
VAR didn't even check that.
No, they don't, though. This is the problem. But this is what I was saying before, where you should have 3 operating screens. When you want to pause an incident to review it or look at it, that's fine. You have somebody who goes and does that. While in the meantime, you have another person who sits on another operating screen. The game's still running or advantage has been played on, so you keep running the game on. It would speed up the decisions because you already have someone looking at a possible foul, possible offside, possible whatever, and then the decision will then be handed to whoever, the referee, the VAR operator, on that day when they look at both angles in terms of, right, is it a foul or is it not? One person makes the decision, you pass it up the line, then you have two people check, 2. Not 1, 2. So then if you want to put it and pass it down as, well, I'm not sure, I don't know if the ball's out, I don't know if the ball's in, right, I'm going to give the decision to you then. Pass it to somebody then who, if you're not prepared to grow a pair and accept and stand by your decision, right, pass it to somebody else then. And at the end of the day, when you look at how VAR what was it brought in to do, guys? It was brought in to make and take away the elements of modern day errors within sport and make high performance sport so much more better. But the problem is there's not the consistency to use the technology. You can't do right from wrong. If you're a defender in modern day football, if you're a defender in an academy right now, I swear to anybody now, I feel sorry for you. I absolutely feel sorry for you because you can't put your arms anywhere. You might as well get super glue and super glue your hands next to your legs. You might as well. Yeah. You move your hands in any motion. It doesn't matter if you just glance it out, you put it on the floor to hold your weight or guide your balance. Anything, it touches your hand, you're given a penalty straight away. Penalty. So you might as well. If you're a young kid right now and you're a defender, I really feel feeling for you in the future of football because the way that it's going, anything, even what you were saying, Jarvis, with the Rodri one. Yep. You listen. You could literally finish the guy. You'd be that quick, you wouldn't be able to see it on a camera angle. They go down as if they've been shot from a bloody aeroplane. But the problem with the VAR is, why don't we have the consistency with the rules? Let's have picture. And the big point that I would say about this is pictures. Here's the option of what a handball consists of. If the arm's in this motion and any motion above it, handball. Yeah. If it's not in this motion and it's lower than this movement on a player's position, no handball. There is the clear rule guidelines of the handball straight away. Offside, well,
shit.
like I say, you
Here we
can
go
bring in
again.
the semi-automated system and do that. But go on, Jarvis, go on.
Yeah, we have. I'm not sure what to say anymore. We have another 10 memberships from AlienTenno. He's actually going at it today, and it's insane.
Is
So
this
now
Jim
we have
Ratcliffe?
60.
Is Jim Ratcliffe in the chat here? Are we getting bought off? Is this
I don't mind. Buy
Is this
me off
corruption?
all you want.
I will not be
I would
bought.
care.
I will not be bought unless you got a Ferrari spare. You know what I mean? But
By the way, guys, I'm gonna have to shoot here. So thank you very much for having me on, and everybody listening. But I'll catch you all later.
Yeah, big up,
No
Paul.
problem.
Thank you
Yeah,
for coming on,
yeah.
Paul. You've been
go.
fantastic. See you on the next one, buddy.
See you later, Paul.
Remember to like everybody, or Andy's gonna go mad at you.
Come at you.
Catch you later.
don't like
I
it
think,
when
I
I'm
think
mad.
Peter's nicked his missus's bank card at this point. But
Yeah.
I don't know where this windfall is coming from, but big up to Peter anyway, people. Show him some love in the chat.
Thank you, Peter. Today I saw Mr. Neil Warnock. He actually had a solution for the VAR problem. As you guys can see, this is his solution. It's set a 30-second time limit for every decision to be made. Stop using slow motion replays. That often makes incidents look worse. Change the offside rule so there must be daylight between the attacker and the defender. Allow refs freedom to use common sense at the end of the era of robotic officials. And the last point, I can't read it right away. It's appoint an independent group of ex-players and coaches to operate the technology.
I'll be very honest, Jarvis, with Neil Warnock's views there. If you change the third rule and you put in the semi-automated offside system, I'll agree with everything apart from that. And the fifth one, if you just get the best internal experts from European football, from UEFA, who have the UEFA Pro licenses, who have the FIFA referees and coaching guidance licenses, you get people from those two football organisations to be as that group panel. I don't really think there's anything that we'd probably disagree with there. Because, as Neil Warnock says there, the decisions take far too long. There's the solution to that. As you were saying before, Andy, about the one with Casemiro, where you freeze frame it, or you use slow motion in an action to make it look far worse than it actually is. Where if you just play the normal time, you'd have probably caught out those other two players that he was on about, Andy, in that motion, as well as what happened with Casemiro and Will Hughes in that Crystal Palace game. So then there's your instant solution for that. I've just said about that with the offside. The referee's freedom to use common sense. Well, just stick with on-field decisions then. If the referee thinks they're right, give them the power to overrule VAR, is essentially what Neil Warnock's saying. And then appoint an independent group. Well, I think these things, like that one anyway, I think that should have been introduced already as soon as they brought it in.
Yeah.
Why have a Premier League expert? This is what I always say. You know, Howard Webb, for example, I could be wrong in saying this. Has he ever refereed in European football or in a European final? I can't remember the times that he has.
He might have done Champions League matches.
I think he's got the license to do it, but he never did a high-profile game like a final or anything like that. That's
he
what I'm
might
saying.
have done quarterfinals or semi-finals.
Yeah. This is what I'm saying, Andy. But if you get somebody in, if you get panelists in, even if they work with Howard Webb, you don't have to get rid of the bloke. Just work with him, and then you can create the panel where you have the Premier League officiating rules. You also have UEFA, and then make the new rules, which would probably, if we're being honest, be a lot better because the European, as I said before, the Premier League can learn a lot from them.
That bald ref, Chiellini or whatever he was called. He put the fair on into the referees in the Premier League.
But they should give the job to Clattenburg. He refereed the 2016 Champions League final. He's actually quite good.
I just don't think Howard Webb really has the. I know this is going to sound really shameful to say, but I don't think he has the high level experience because the Premier League's so big. Yeah, he's one of the big. And to be fair, when he was a referee, I thought he was a quite decent referee when he was actually officiating games. But you need somebody who has a world experience. And that's why I say if you have a Premier League referee, like you just said there with Clattenburg, a Premier League referee who's officiated in this league under that era, because football's moved on since Howard Webb was a referee. Football's moved on drastically, differently. You have somebody from that era, and you have somebody who's, if you like, refereed in the modern era, or still referees now, and you just use them as a licensee to say, or an officiator, because UEFA referees don't referee world-renowned already. They sometimes take a month layover or whatever. Bring them into the Premier League, for example. Bring them to the Premier League and let them work with our referees. And look, put it this way, they can learn a lot from each other. And then football will be made a lot better. And really, I think it will be made a lot fairer in terms of the rules and the guidelines. The problem with us is, with VAR is, why they set the guidelines in place, but they don't follow them. That's the issue that I have. I like the technology, it's the guidelines. Either you have to change the guidelines so that they make more sense, and that's what, like what Andy was saying before when they used the word, technicality. The actual graphics of words that they're using doesn't make sense to what they're actually trying to say. You say the word technicality to a 10-year-old kid about a VAR decision, is he going to know what you're meaning? Probably not. And I know it's going to sound bad in saying
YouTube, but not.
I know it's going to sound bad in saying it, but put it in layman's terms. Use an idiot's guide to explain it to people. That's the best way that you can use it and solution it, because everybody will understand what you're trying to say. But when you use the words technicality and indirect foul or off, these fancy glamorous words that more educated people might understand how it works, but that's to do with education. How do you take that word into football and make it make sense? It doesn't. Yeah. That's the issue. But if you want to turn it round, just make it simple. Here we go.
Oh,
Peter.
Shit. Here we go again.
I forgot how many it is now. How many is it now?
Yeah, I don't know. 60 new members, 70 new members. Andy, say a few words about AlienTenno.
AlienTenno, thank you, my friend, for the 10 memberships. I hope your bank balance, I hope you got enough to pay your bills, though, mate. But thank you for the contribution. I hope the bills are going out nice and safe. Never leave yourself in debt, my friend. But thank you very much for the contribution towards the channel.
It's actually 80 new members now.
80, yeah. Wow.
80.
That's fantastic.
Can we get to 99? We'll have 99 problems, but a glazer ain't one. Can we get to 99?
Let's move on to the next subject. I think you have covered the VAR. If you don't have any more to say about it, the next topic this is now we will talk about the Everton. Everton is facing a 12-point deduction for the FFP breach. Are smaller clubs reviewing harsher penalties compared to big clubs like City and Chelsea? Who want to go first?
Andy, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go because I think it's scandalous. I mean, you look at it, if you look at Sheffield Wednesday, they had the 12-point penalty. I think Derby County had one.
Yeah.
Most famously,
went to administration.
Yeah. Luton Town, Leeds United, and it crippled. It basically took them to the conference, and they played conference football. And like I say, 10 years later, here are Luton now. So if you punish one, you must punish others, no matter how technicality your lawyers are. You can keep jumping through hoops like little sheep, but eventually that gate's gonna close, and you're gonna get caught, and you're gonna be in with the big wolves. So I'm telling you what, the wolves are coming. So any club, it would be Everton, Man City, or the tram 115 or 116, or the bus will turn up at the Etihad. I don't know when. It could be a year from now, 2, 3, 4 years from now. But you got to be punished if you fried the books. Like you say, is this legal? Absolutely not. If you fried it, you will get cooked. And that's all I'm going to say on it. If this was Man United, there'd be a national scandal. it'll be lobbied must punish Manchester United.
Yeah.
As soon as the Glazers and that, we will be thrown to the wolves. Thrown to the wolves, and we will absolutely look. If you can do it to Glasgow Rangers and drop 4 divisions, you're gonna have to do it to somebody else as well.
Mm-hmm. Very well said, Andy. I saw a comment here about the Chelsea. They are not. This is from Ivo Bosic. He said that Chelsea haven't breached the FFP proof piece. I just read today an article in the Guardian that actually brought up that Roman Abramovich funded their success, and he was breaching the FFP. So
do you want an example of it, Jarvis? Do you want one example of how
yes, please.
Chelsea? Yeah, okay. There was a leaked email that exchanged that went from Roman Abramovich to Eden Hazard's football agent when he was a player at Lille, and he sent him across €7 million, and there was no quotation to it. But you send €7 million to a football agent about his client, one of his clients, who's not currently your player. I think everybody gets the gist of why that's happening. And Eden Hazard, as a young, I think it was 20 or 21 years old, as a young player at that time, had at least 6, 7 high-profile European football clubs that were looking at him. And it just took Roman Abramovich to pay €7 million to a club owner, to a player's agent, and then it just so happens that player then suddenly goes to that club. There's no two ways about it. Why is this, if you like, a national, like Andy was saying there, national outcry? Chelsea have won 2 Champions Leagues under that tenure with Roman Abramovich. They've won about 5 or 6 Premier League titles.
Europa League, FA Cup, they've won everything.
They've won a lot. They've won a lot. But historical clubs that have built from scratch, like Arsenal, haven't won the lot. But really, many people say that they should have done by now. But Arsenal have never been done for breaching FFP regulations or rules. But in the same case, like I'm saying with Chelsea, the problem with Chelsea has always been the way that Roman Abramovich bought their football club at the time was controversial because he was the first, if you like, nation-state linked member to buy a football club. A Russian oligarch who's one of Putin's inner circle buys a Premier League football club. There's nothing dodgy about that at all. Really? Yeah. The gas, if we want me to be honest about it, I think Roman Abramovich at the time, Gazprom, which is a Russian gas and oil company, for people that don't know, he owned 32% of the shares in that company at the time, and it forklifted over 3 years, which brought him a net worth, I think it was over £5 billion at that time. I mean, his net worth almost doubled in, I think it was the space of 18 months after he bought Chelsea Football Club because of all the commercial deals and the brand deals that he was getting with all the Russian companies, which was then at the time funding and sponsored Chelsea Football Club. So it's almost as if you pay Peter to pay Paul. You give Roman the money and then suddenly he can do whatever the hell he wants with it, even though it's not his own money, it's the Russian government's money. But the problem, like I say, it's not even just with Chelsea in this case. Manchester City, let's be honest, their whole tenure, if we're being honest, they've been successful for roughly about 10 years nearly. Yep. I think that's reasonable to say. They are being investigated for 13 years worth of their finances. 13 years. Now, let me ask you and Andy a question, Jarvis. Do you have an email from 13 years ago to prove what you bought? No, you don't, do you?
Hell of an inbox if you've got one.
There you go.
Hell of an inbox.
But Manchester City claim in the modern day era that they make more money than PSG, who have a sponsorship deal with Jordan, Manchester United, who have a multi-billion-pound sponsorship deal with Adidas, Arsenal, who have major sponsorship with Emirates, and also they make more money on top of that than both of the Spanish giants in Barcelona and Real Madrid. Really? It doesn't make sense at all in whatever case you want to say it with. And if you want to put it as Andy was saying before, they've punished so many football clubs. Derby County went into administration and they punished them because they couldn't pay the players. But it's not Derby County's fault that their owner abandoned them because he couldn't afford to keep up with the payments of the football club. How is that in any right fair to that football club? And it demoted and it crushed Derby County. Bury's gone out of bloody business, for Christ's sake. But there's this scandal going on with Manchester City. And the funny thing that everybody keeps alluding to, and I said this even when the reports came out about Manchester City, that they're being investigated for financial irregularities. A massive scandal like this, where they have to date back 13 years of all the finances of those football clubs, and the Premier League want proof of how they've actually obtained these financial figures and how they make sense. When you want to go that far back, it's not going to take 18 months or 10 months to come to a decision. You're talking years, guys. You might not hear about any punishment for Manchester City for 3-4 years. That's how deep those allegations go. And as you were saying, Andy, rightfully, if it goes on for this long as an investigation and they get found out, which, if we're being honest with you, with the way that it's being reported and all these leaked emails and everything's coming out, they're guilty as sin, let's be honest. And they're not exactly making themselves look any better when you try and make that you've got record revenues in world football. In no sense at all. But the Everton one, I am more incensed by, based upon that they cheated the finances to stay in the Premier League. And if I'm being honest, I think legally speaking, Leeds, Leicester, and Southampton could sue Everton if they get found guilty for loss of trading because they've lost money because they got relegated from the Premier League. But Everton breached the rules to stay in the league.
This as well, because I remember a couple of years ago, Sheffield United had a case over, say, I know it was Tevez and all that, but was it? Well, it was Derby, wasn't it? Because Sheffield Wednesday stayed up. Derby, Wickham, and all challenged them. They were, and was it say, they were challenging what?
They went to Court of Arbitration for Sport. They didn't take the case forward because the Premier League couldn't prove it. That was the problem. Why? But like you're saying there, Andy, even with Manchester City, UEFA had Manchester City banged to rights. And when I mean banged to rights, guys, Manchester City they had all the top lawyers within the world who still couldn't fight Manchester City's case. But do you know how they got out of the UEFA case? And people can portray it, and City fans can portray it however they want. They got out of that case with UEFA on a time bar. And for people that don't know what a time bar is, under the Court of Arbitration for Sport, you have 2 years to prove a football or a sporting case. So it was football in this case with Manchester City. UEFA gathered all the evidence up, but because COVID hit, when they was making the allegations against Manchester City, COVID hits the whole arbitration, and suddenly you're laid off for 3 months where you can't investigate. And in those 3 months, Manchester City's appeal case was up. So what happens in that case then? It gets overturned and then it gets thrown out of court. So Manchester City, as Andy's favourite word, got out on a technicality. Not proven, a technicality. And from then, they've been investigated by UEFA. They're being investigated now by the Premier League. Jesus Christ, they might even get investigated by Sherlock Holmes, for all we know. Yeah, they've got more. There's more holes in their finances than a sieve.
Yeah. So do you think? I see a lot of comments in the chat say that the FA won't do anything against City.
Oh, come on, guys! A 4-year investigation, and they're not going to try and make them look guilty as sin. Please.
Yeah, see Paul Greaves come in there and say there's no way.
It would shake up English football, or wouldn't it?
I'll ask you guys a question. Would you investigate something for 4 years just to say that I'm not going to do anything?
Well, it depends how much money you give me.
You are... Jarvis, you're as bent as the lot of them.
Anybody can be bought, my friends.
That's just the world, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
well, anyway,
if it does come, what you call it, you can hit them with all sorts of fucking fines, points, deductions. Do you strip titles from him?
They probably wouldn't. No.
No, there you go. Then it's like
because if they strip the titles of them, every club that finished second in those leagues can sue them. Then
you open up a can of words. Let's
Yeah,
say
that's it, yeah.
we're all 2 titles. Liverpool, fucking hell. Let's just leave it at that. They'll be having 3. Fucking, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, I see Neil Driscoll coming in and said my local club was saved by fans and fans owner club, and now club name is Exeter City. So there's a lot of clubs who have been struggling with financials, and the fines are coming from the FA, but nothing happens to City yet. But let's hope. Let's hope they will.
Yeah. Jarvis and Andy. Anyway, I've got to head off, guys. But anyway, it's been a pleasure as always.
Yeah.
And anybody in the chat or anybody who's watching, make sure you like, share, subscribe, people. Costs absolutely nothing. And as Paul said before he left, if you don't, you already know what Andy's going to say. What's the excuse, guys? Is it technicality? Can't you click a button? Come on, people.
Is it because you're on a technicality? You're so lazy.
There we go.
You can't use one finger to press something and click.
Costs nothing, people. That's the biggest.
You are nothing, people. You are fools, and you are a waste of time. You waste of time. Good night.
Anyway, but big up everybody as always, and Jarvis, Andy, I'll catch you.
Big up, Tom. Big up.
Peace.
Big up. I think we're at the end now, Jarvis.
Yeah, you and I can just cover the last, because now we will involve the VAR room a little bit more. This is about the Sancho department looming in January. Who would you prefer to replace him as right winger? We have a lot of options like Moussa Diaby, Neto, Nusa, Carvacelia, Nico Williams, or someone else. So the question is, who would you like to bring in as a right winger to replace Sancho?
I would go for
VAR room. Get your options in.
I would go for Moussa Diaby. I've heard that name. I've not heard any of the other names. Not seen any of them play, but somebody who won't be moaning and playing on his Xbox and PlayStation and thinking he's the absolute dog's bollocks. You know what I mean? So I'll fucking say we need somebody. I've heard of a swap for the Juventus player as well, maybe. So maybe that's an answer for us.
Yeah, let's talk about Chiesa of Juventus, but he's very injury prone. He's been out, I think, 300 days or something, and he just came back and is injured again. So we don't want that.
No, we don't need crocs, man. We need fresh blood, fresh minds.
I see here Mark comes in with Savio. He wants Savio. Matty R comes in and he mentions Neto. Neto has actually been quite good this season for Wolves. I think he has 7 assists or something. He's on top of the assist list in the league.
Yeah, but you mean what Wolves are going to command for that? They're going to buy about 40-50 million. And it's just an old goal. Like you say, we've got to get players now through our connections with going forward with the new regime.
Yeah. Let's hope that Mitchell has a lot of connections. I see D-Day Superfly comes in. He says Chiesa. Neil Driscoll, he wants Neto. And we have actually Peter Day comes in. He says Gnabry. Isn't he playing for Bayern Munich, I think?
I think
he's
so,
quite
yeah.
good. Yeah.
Second another striker. We need another striker in January as well. So
yeah. I see Scotty at the wheel comes in with Marcos Leonardo when we speak about strikers. Santos. And he's been linked to Man United.
Brentford lad as well. Yeah, the Brentford lad. So a Brentford going to ask for 60, 70 million for that? You must be joking. I won't bet on it.
I see George Best comes in here. Only one person, Adama Traore. Then I have to take off my arms and oil them up before match time.
He's a beast, him.
Yeah.
Beast.
But when it comes to, I have actually been scouting one person. I just want to show the VAR room because he's Norwegian. I know a lot about him. It's this guy. Oh, let's just go back to slide 1. Here we go. It's a little bit too fast. It's Antonio Nusa. He plays for Club Bruges, and he's Norwegian. He's one of the most talented right wingers and left wingers in Europe at the moment. He's quite young. He's a professional football player, played for Bruges. He's born in 2005. He has a Nigerian citizenship, but he represents Norway. He's been named the Norwegian Neymar because of his skills. And he's the youngest ever player to score in the Champions League. He scored at the age of 17 and 189 days. This season, these stats are a couple of weeks old because I made this a couple of weeks ago, so maybe it's not entirely correct, but he had 3 goals, 7 assists, 16 matches played, and 67% impacting on goals. So he has good stats. And here you can see his FB refereeables, and you can see that he has a lot of these stats. He's on the 99%. So he's on the 99% top of the top 5 clubs in Europe. Comes to progressive carries, successful take-ons, touches. So he's a fantastic dribbler and progressive passes. So he's up to grab.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
What would he command though? What would he command? What, I mean, how much? You talking 25 million euros, 30 million?
Well, I don't know what his price range is, but probably about 40 to 50 millions, I believe. Maybe too much.
With our scouting network, you probably don't even recognize him. Yeah. You won't even recognize him. Our scouting network at the moment.
I see Riot comes in. He said 32 minimum. Yeah. That's probably right. 30 millions. This is his heat map. As you can see, he likes to cut in, and he also goes on the outside down to the byline and cross. So we can do both. And this is his stats compared with Xavi Simons, who Ten Hag wanted. We all know Ten Hag wanted Xavi Simons. And they are very similar players in a way, as you can see. They have the similar attributes. So for me, that's a player I would like to go for. Antonio Nusa. Yeah. Check him out if you haven't. Let's just go back to the VAR room. I see here AlienTenno comes in. He said Jarvis showed Xavi Simons 2 years. I have been banging about him. Yeah. He's really good. Yeah, and that sums up today's show. I don't have any more slides or any more topics. Do you have any more to say, Andy, before we leave?
Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for the contributions tonight and the gifted memberships, people. Jarvis will be back on Monday night, and Mick will be back in the morning at some point. And anything happens within the next few days, I'm sure the lads will be straight on the blower on YouTube with the information. Anything comes out of the club.
Yeah. And you know, Andy, you always have an open invite to come into the show. So feel free if you have the time. I know you're working a lot and are a busy man, but, you know, say hello to the VAR-ROOM when you can.
I will, lads. I will, mate. Thank you, Jarvis. And thank you for having me on tonight. I enjoyed it, people. Yeah.
And before you go, hit the like. We are on at the moment on let's see, 80 likes. So a couple more, we will have 100.
Yeah, let's get to 90 points. Title winning. That's a title winning team. 90 points. Let's get to 90 people.
92. I mean? Class of 92.
92. Class of 92. Love, peace, and bananas.
Yeah. Peace, love, and bananas. See you on the next one, guys. Have a good one. Oh, and Mark, you can run the outro. Oh, Mark is not here. Again. Where is it? I just want to find it. I can't even find the outro video. Mark left the building. He is my producer. Where is it? Well, here it is. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching MUFC Release TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.
That was was crazy, that ending.